Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at a career that is just, it's defined by these huge, jarring pivots. We're talking about Stacey Bernstein, who you probably know as Raylene.
And that contrast is really what makes her story so fascinating for us. It's a perfect case study. We're not just looking at, a successful career in entertainment.
Right.
We're looking at a story of real ambition, real discipline that just got redirected. Our sources map it all out from her strict academic background right here in Southern California.
All the way through being a top-tier contract star, then a complete shift into real estate, and then later, this very quiet advocacy work.
Exactly.
Okay, so to really frame this whole idea of contrast for you, we have to start with this one fact. Before any of the films, before the public persona, her original goal, her life plan, was to become a Christian high school teacher.
That one fact is the absolute key to her entire story. It unlocks everything. Think about it. She went to Christian school. She was an honor student.
The plan was solid.
Totally. She was going to go to Azusa Pacific University for Christian studies. But when, the money or the time just wasn't there, when that path closed, she didn't just drift.
No.
She took that same intense focus, that same high level of capability, and just aimed it at a completely different field, a much higher pressure field.
So it's not just a story about a radical career change. It's about a highly organized person who just adapted their whole goal-setting machine to a new reality when the first one didn't pan out.
Precisely. That drive was there from the beginning. She was born Stacey Bernstein in Glendora, California back in '77. And her background is so complex, Italian and Mexican on her mother's side, and then Polish-Jewish and Austrian-Jewish from her father.
And the sources show she was a high achiever from day one. Graduating high school 2 years early, at 16.
Yeah.
That kind of focus, finishing high school before you can even legally drive in some places, that tells you everything you need to know about the work ethic we're going to see later.
It absolutely does. And even before the adult industry, she was comfortable performing. She started acting when she was 5 years old.
With some help, right? Her uncle was in the business.
Yeah, a television producer. He helped her get these little parts on shows like Hunter and 21 Jump Street.
So she wasn't a total stranger to how a set works. And I saw she even had a non-speaking part on the HBO comedy series Mr. Show.
Right. So she was kind of orbiting that world. She was in the ecosystem, but just didn't have the resources to, launch a traditional acting career.
And that's the turning point.
That is the critical juncture. She's working retail, doing some local modeling, and according to the sources, her comfort with performance just naturally led her to exotic dancing.
Which gave her that immediate financial stability she needed.
And the entry point. That was her door into the adult film industry in 1996.
And once she walked through that door, that high school focus just dig.
Yeah.
It kicked into overdrive. Her first boy-girl scene, Shane's World, #4. She was only 19.
And that takes us right into, really, the peak of her career, the vivid era.
So for anyone who wasn't following the industry then, you have to explain what being a vivid girl meant in the late 90s.
Oh, okay, yeah. This was the absolute height of the video era. Company branding was everything, and Vivid was, it was like the MGM of the adult industry.
The prestige label.
The prestige label, absolutely. So getting an exclusive contract with them meant instant, massive stardom. And she had one from May '98 to November 2001.
And why was a 3.5-year contract so important? What's the difference between that and just being a freelance performer?
Oh, it was everything. It meant you had guaranteed money, you had health benefits, which was so rare, and you had this whole corporate machine controlling your brand, your schedule.
So it's not just film-to-film work, it's building a brand.
A legally protected, highly recognizable brand, yeah.
And the output, the work ethic during that time was it's incredible. She starred in over 60 Vivid titles alone.
And sources are a little split on the total number, but some push it up towards 400 appearances over her whole career. The low end is still over 200.
A powerhouse.
The definition of one. And her look was so distinct. Dark brown hair, brown eyes, and this very curvaceous figure. Sources list her 5'7", 131 pounds, 34 DD, 2436.
But the appeal was more than just physical, right? What did fans and critics really latch onto?
Her versatility. That's the word that comes up again and again. She was called a seductive powerhouse, sure, but fans also pointed to her ability to show both vulnerability and confidence. It was a really potent mix.
Which suggests she was really focused on character, on the emotional side of it, not just the mechanics.
Exactly. She got critical acclaim for her dramatic work. This is a really key detail.
Yeah.
Her role in a 1997 film called Artemisia got tons of praise for its storytelling.
Interesting.
Yeah, she was great in both heterosexual and lesbian scenes, but fans and critics seem to notice that she really preferred these story-driven films over, the more hardcore, repetitive gonzo stuff that was flooding the market.
And that focus on narrative paid off with actual awards, not just fan praise?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The work she did on Artemisia directly led to her winning the 2001 AVN Award for Best Actress. She actually tied for it that year.
And that was after winning Starlet of the Year a couple of years earlier.
Right, the 1999 XRCO Award.
Yeah.
And the legacy is it's undeniable. She was inducted into the AVN Hall of Fame in 2008 and then the XRCO Hall of Fame in 2017. Her impact lasted for decades.
Okay, so that brings us to phase 3. The crossover. Because being a top star is one thing, but Raylene's footprint in mainstream media was something else entirely?
She was a fixture, just a cultural fixture at the turn of the millennium. You'd see her on VH1, on MTV, on talk shows like Jenny Jones.
And cable shows like The X Show and The Man Show?
Exactly, but also major news outlets. I mean, CNN, Entertainment Tonight. She was everywhere.
Plus a small part in a huge movie, American Pie 2.
But the crossover moment that really cemented her in the public consciousness, whether people knew her name or not,
Get this.
was the 2000 Grammy Awards.
But Grammy Awards, I mean, that is the biggest music show in the world.
And she was right there on stage. She was featured cage dancing with another performer, Kobe Tai, during Kid Rock's live performance.
Wow.
That moment, being right in the middle of this massive primetime cultural event, it just shows you the surreal level of visibility she had reached.
And that kind of spotlight, that intensity, it has to be exhausting. I mean, from graduating high school at 16 to the Grammys, it almost feels inevitable that a huge change was coming.
And it was. Which brings us to phase 4, retreat and reinvention. She retired from the film industry for the first time in 2001.
Citing burnout.
Right, burnout. The sources mentioned there was speculation at the time about, personal struggles. She later talked openly about issues with substance abuse being a major reason she needed to step away.
And she retired from dancing a few years later, in 2004. She had the discipline to walk away from all of that fame, all of that money, and just start over. What did that reinvention look like?
This is the part that really proves that honors student mindset was still there. She didn't just stop working. She trained and got licensed as a real estate agent and a fitness trainer.
So she jumped into 2 fields that require a ton of focus and salesmanship.
And complex regulations, especially real estate. And we know she was good at it. The sources specifically mentioned she brokered a sale to the AIM Healthcare Foundation.
Okay, that's not just selling a house in the suburbs. What does a deal like that even involve?
It's incredibly complex. You're dealing with corporate boards, commercial zoning laws, nonprofit financial structures, massive amounts of due diligence. It takes real legal and financial sharpness.
So she proved she could operate at a high level in a totally different corporate world.
Absolutely. This was not a celebrity dabbling. This was a serious professional.
Even with that success, the sources say she still hit financial trouble. If she was good enough to broker a huge deal like that, what happened? What led to her having to return to making films in 2009?
It was just this brutal combination of factors. She had the skills, but the 2008 financial crisis completely destroyed the housing market.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so you combine that with just how hard it is to go from a huge, steady contract income to a commission-based job. Stability was it was gone.
And that struggle, that reality that her talent and hard work weren't enough to get her through that crisis, that was actually documented in the movie After Porn Ends.
It was. It gave it a very human face.
Yeah.
So necessity drove her back. She made a brief comeback in 2009, mostly working in the MILF category at that point.
It was clearly a financial decision, not a passion project.
Not at all. It was about survival.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so brief.
Very brief. She announced her final retirement on Twitter in January 2014. And since then, she has been completely private.
Right. She's prioritized personal wellness. As of 2025, she lives a quiet life in Northern California. And importantly, her focus has shifted to advocacy for former performers.
Specifically around mental health and career transitions.
Exactly. Using her own lived experience to help other people navigate that same instability she faced. And she has no active social media. It was a very deliberate retreat.
And just to round out the picture, the sources mentioned she was briefly married to Brad Hirsch, who's the brother of the co-chairman of Vivid.
Steve Hirsch, yeah. They were married from 2001 to 2007. Divorced. She has 1 son. And she's also openly bisexual. It all paints this picture of a very complex life that she's navigated with, a lot of candor.
So what's the big takeaway here for you? I mean, her career is this incredible case study in how intense discipline can be applied to completely different fields: theology, entertainment, high-level real estate.
Her path isn't a straight line. It's these sharp, driven zigs and zags, often forced on her by financial pressure. But she always met it with this professional resilience. It shows that core capability, that focus, it's transferable.
And her impact has lasted years after she left the public eye. We can actually quantify that, which is pretty rare.
That's right. The source data shows that as of now, 2024, 2025, she is still the 168th most popular pornographic actor biography on Wikipedia globally,
Wow.
and the 110th most popular one for American-born performers. The fact that her legacy hasn't faded, even with no social media, no recent work, it proves her success was built on something more than just being prolific.
On that star quality, that critical acclaim you were talking about.
Exactly.
So that brings us to our final thought. Given her intense discipline, I mean, graduating high school at 16, becoming a contract star almost immediately, then successfully pivoting into complex real estate, what does Raylene's trajectory tell us about the kind of ruthless adaptability that's required to navigate huge career shifts, especially when those shifts are driven by necessity, not just by choice? It really forces you to redefine what a successful career path even looks like.